crazy. I dream about our babies. Gazing them days and contagious. You're my baby. We know each other like the back of our hands. Understand there's no mistaking. I'm taking 'cause you're my drug.
What's good, YouTube? It's your girl Asia.
And it's your boy BJ.
Back in the building.
Back in effect. Back like we never left. And y'all, we back in the building with another reaction. Yeah. And we appreciate you for tuning in. Man, we got a good one today. I love controversial topics. I love controversy.
I don't.
I love to dibble and dabble in regards to, just being opposed to certain topics and just like listening to see what they got to say. Yeah. And then just having an opinion on them. But this one is actually Ben Shapiro destroys Piers Morgan on gun control. I wanted to check this one out because this is always like one of the hottest topics here in America in regards to like gun control and how we should go about it. And I would think this would be a good way to kind of like dive into that.
I don't know if there's a right answer, honestly. I really don't. You know, when you just start talking about that kind of stuff, I just feel like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. Because I just feel like at the end of the day, it's going to come down to everybody's, what they believe and what their rights are. And it's just going to be an argument of what people think and how they feel, you know. So.
But I love it, though. I love the conversation behind it.
Yeah.
I love to listen more than anything.
Okay. So, here we go. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, join the family, and let's jump into this video, y'all.
Let's check it out.
On guns, my next guest has strong words for me. He says I'm off the rails on guns in America. Ben Shapiro is editor-at-large at Breitbart.com and the author of Bullies, How a Left's Culture of Fear and Intimidation Silences Americans. So why am I off the rails, Mr. Shapiro?
Honestly, Piers, you've kind of been a bully on this issue because what you do, and I've seen it repeatedly on your show, I watch your show, and I've seen it repeatedly, what you tend to do is you tend to demonize people who differ from you politically by standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook, saying they don't seem to care enough about the dead kids if they...
Woo! Wait.
He already going in.
Okay, he just come out swinging with a hook.
I like him. He fired.
He like, look, I don't care that you Piers Morgan. I don't care. Shoot.
I like him because he fired.
Dang.
By standing on the graves of the children of Sandy Hook, saying they don't seem to care enough about the dead kids. If they cared more about the dead kids, they would agree with you on policy. I think we can have a rational political conversation about balancing rights and risks and rewards of all of these different policies. But I don't think that what we need to do is demonize people on the other side as being unfeeling about what happened in Sandy Hook.
How dare you accuse me of standing on the graves of the children that died there? How dare you?
I've seen you do it repeatedly, Piers.
Like I say, how dare you?
You can keep saying that, but you've done it repeatedly.
Ooh, he's taking a chord.
That's kind of...
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know a lot in regards to what he's saying in regards to like Piers Morgan using Sandy Hook, as his, I guess, as his way of getting his point across and using that. But yeah, that's fire. Look at how Piers Morgan looking at him like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think he uses Sandy Hook. I can see why he would though, because I feel like when Sandy Hook happened, I feel like I remember being at work that day, and I literally every time the news was coming up, like more and more tears just kept coming to my eyes, like these babies, these kids. Like I couldn't believe what I was reading.
I know.
You know what I mean? And the more that the story started to develop, like the harder it got to even listen to it.
Listen or
read it.
You
know what I mean? So I feel like that he's saying, how dare you, as in like, that hit a lot of people, especially like if you got kids or grandkids, right. And it just. Ben Shapiro has kids as well, so.
Yeah, you can find that offensive what he said right there.
Yeah, I think he's digging a little deep on that. I don't think
he took a dig. He just took a dig on him right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Repeatedly, Piers.
Like I say, how dare you?
You can keep saying that, but you've done it repeatedly. What you do, and I've seen you do it on the program, is you keep saying to folks that if they disagree with you politically, then somehow this is a violation of what happened in Sandy Hook. And you have yet, I'd really like to hear your policy prescriptions for what we should do about guns. Because you say that you respect the Second Amendment, and I brought this here for you so that you can read it. It's the Constitution. And I would really like for you to explain.
Not the damn
He going in.
Constitution.
He going in, y'all.
Say, wow. Okay.
For you so that you can read it. It's the Constitution. And I would really like for you to explain to me what you would do about guns that would have prevented what happened in Sandy Hook. If you want to do what you did in the UK, right, which is ban virtually all guns, that is at least a fair argument. And we can have a discussion about whether that's something that we ought to do or
Well, I've
not.
made it very clear what I want to do, which is exactly what Mark Kelly wants to do. And in fact, rather than address
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Rather than address your comments to me about standing on the graves of children at Sandy Hook, you can address them to Mark Kelly, because he agrees with everything that I've been saying, because he feels the same way, as does his wife. They're gun owners. They both respect the Second Amendment of the Constitution. They don't want to take away anybody's right to defend themselves with guns.
Well, they want to take away certain types of guns,
They
obviously.
want to take away assault weapons, which are capable, with magazines like we saw at Aurora and Sandy Hook, of unleashing a ridiculous amount of bullets.
Well, this is
in
a
very
question I
short
wanted to
period of
ask you,
time.
Piers, because I've seen you talk about assault weapons a lot, and I've seen Mark Kelly talk about assault weapons. The vast majority of murders in this country that are committed with guns are not committed with assault weapons, they're committed with handguns.
Okay,
so are you willing to ban handguns in this country across the
No,
country?
that's not what I'm asking for.
Why not?
Let me ask you...
Don't you care about the kids who are being killed in Chicago as much as the kids in Sandy Hook?
Yes, I do.
Then why don't you care about banning the handguns in Chicago?
We'll come to that. Let me ask you this. What was the weapon used at Aurora in the movie theatre?
It was an assault rifle, sure.
Okay. What was the weapon used in the Oregon shopping mall?
I believe it was an assault rifle, correct?
Oh, I see. Where you going?
Okay. What was the weapon used at Sandy Hook?
It was an assault rifle.
What was the weapon used at the incident around Christmas when the firemen were lured to their deaths, the New York State firemen?
And bought illegally, that was an assault rifle.
Right, so the last 4 mass shootings in America were all the assault rifles.
And the vast
that is the reason, Mr. Shapiro. And you can smirk at me, and you can laugh at me.
I'm not smirking.
And you can accuse me of standing on the graves of dead children.
And being a bully, yes.
But that is the reason that people like me and Mark Kelly and Gabrielle Giffords want to have assault weapons like that removed from civilian hands.
Your passion on the issue
point.
doesn't really justify the rationale for why you want to ban assault weapons, but
You don't
not
understand
handguns.
why we want to remove the preferred weapon of choice, these killing machines,
Well, I would like
from
you
the
to
hands of deranged young men.
All I'm asking is for you to be philosophically consistent. If what you're worried about is the removal of killing machines from the hands of deranged young people, then maybe we should talk about a blanket gun ban. And let's get to what the left really wants here. And you say that you're for
Why
the
is it
Second
about
Amendment.
left or right?
See, I see where Ben is going with this one right here, because for the longest, I felt like with Piers Morgan, when they talk about like all of these mass shootings and things of that nature, it's always been used with an assault rifle. And so that's their take on it, him, Mark Kelly, and some other individual in regards to like banning those. You know how that discussion came up a lot, like in 2013 and beyond. But really, like what Ben is saying is like, okay, well, I mean, how's that going to solve the actual issue? I feel like that's why he said just creating like a blanket reform where it's just banning guns altogether.
Yeah, but
you know
that's
what I mean?
yeah. But the thing is that the fact that you have like when you start talking about assault rifles in general, it's just like, I mean, he's talking on a scale of the harm and the damage that they do. Like, I just feel like in general, like to Ben's point, it's just like, okay, you are only pointing out what the mass shootings were, but the majority of like the killings and everything that's actually happening in
Like,
the world,
all
the way around the world, happens with handguns. So why is that less? Why is that something that's not as important as the assault rifles? Removing assault rifles when handguns are the majority of what the actual problem is. Assault rifles are, obviously they do a large amount of damage in a short amount of time. But it's just like, shoot.
Because if you're gonna tackle gun control, I think you should tackle it in a whole, not just focusing on the assault rifles because of mass shootings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
About a blanket
Tackle it
gun.
all the way around, everything.
Yeah.
And let's get to what the left really wants here. And you say that you're for
Why
the
is it
Second
about
Amendment.
left or right? Because in Britain, this never is about left or right, this issue. Why is it here?
Well, we can talk about Britain in a second. I think the reason that it's about left and right here is because fundamentally the right believes that the basis for the Second Amendment, and they believe in the Second Amendment, the basis for the Second Amendment is not really about self-defense and it's not about hunting. It is about resistance to government tyranny. That's what the founders said, and that's what the right believes in this country.
Which tyranny are you fearing yourself?
I fear the possibility of a tyranny rising in this country in the next 50 to 100 years. Let me tell you something, Piers. The fact that my grandparents and great-grandparents in Europe didn't fear that is why they are now ashes in Europe. So this kind of leftist revisionist history, where there's never any fear of democracy going usurpacious or tyrannical is just that, it is
just
fictitious.
to clarify your position then, the answer to Sandy Hook, as it was to Aurora, as it was to Gabrielle Giffords, as it was to Columbine and Virginia Tech, is you do nothing. Is that your position?
And that's not my position.
What is your position?
My position is that we have to calibrate laws that are designed to get guns out of the hands of bad people and keep guns in the hands of good people who want to buy them. This idea of more guns versus less guns.
How do you do that?
Well, I think one of the ways that you do that is by better screening for mental illness. I think that you do better background checks.
Was Adam Lanza's mother a good person?
I don't know whether she was a good person or a bad person. I know she was irresponsible with her guns.
Has there been any evidence to suggest she was not a good person?
No, but there's been...
That's big right there when he said that she was irresponsible with the rifles because she was.
Well, that's part of the reason why a lot of people have them. I mean, you know, one is they're, you know, a big chunk of them are stolen. They're illegal. They're whatever, however people get them, whatever they do to do that. But yeah, I feel like the other part of that is irresponsibility on mishandling. You know what I mean? Just mishandling.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, but also I don't feel like, you know, that I wouldn't even. I mean, I might say, because when people buy and purchase, you know, things like that to have into their home, they know what they're dealing with, especially when you have kids and children around. You know what I mean? You have to lock them up. But then when you think about that, it's like when you think like those people who live like on the edge of thinking that somebody at any moment could come in here, you ain't got time. That's not a thing that you have to, you argue with yourself. It's like, I don't have time to go look for a key to open up something to protect myself. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you, I mean, just saying, there's so many different factors to this conversation, and that's why I'm just like, you know, you'll forever be going round and round, because I feel like people buy with the intent to be responsible, to handle responsibly, and just things happen, but I mean, it doesn't mean that that's going to stop crime.
It's not going to stop it, but I like the point that he said, because even the Sandy Hook shooter, like he, like, the mother knew that he had mental issues, so it does come down to like responsibility for sure.
She's irresponsible with her guns.
Has there been any evidence to suggest she was not a good person?
No, but there's been significant evidence.
Your criteria,
no,
she would have been. Wait a minute. By your criteria of the good people should be allowed the guns and the bad people shouldn't, she would have been allowed the guns.
She was an irresponsible person. She didn't keep her guns locked up, and that should be against the law. If you have a mentally ill person in your house,
so then
I mean, we're talking about laws that we can both agree on, Piers. I don't know why you're disagreeing with me on this.
Then she becomes a bad person, does she?
Well, no, it's not a matter of morally good versus morally bad.
You set the criteria, good and bad. So is she good or bad?
You're right, Piers. I should have said responsible versus irresponsible.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay, so she goes from good to bad.
No, she goes from responsible to irresponsible.
Let's take a break. Let's come back and talk more about this, because we don't agree. We now have Ben Shapiro, editor-at-large at Breitbart.com and the author of Bullies. Do you believe that if you had an assault weapon ban, statistics prove that you could dry up the supply of these guns and make them less accessible to criminals?
I don't know whether you could make them less accessible to criminals. Let's assume that's the case, that you could make them less accessible to criminals. Again, my question remains for you, Piers, and I'm still waiting for an answer from the left on this. They say they're pro-Second Amendment. Why don't you want to ban handguns? If you really want to solve the quote-unquote gun violence problem in America, go after all the guns. Why just stop yourself at assault rifles?
Because I believe and respect an American's right under the Second Amendment of the Constitution that you kindly brought in to defend themselves with a handgun or a pistol. What I don't understand...
But most of the murders are committed with those weapons.
What I don't... Well, as we just established, because I talked you through them, the last 4 mass shootings in America...
Adam Lanza had 2 pistols on him. Well, he didn't just have an assault rifle. If he hadn't had the assault rifle...
He didn't use them, as you know.
And if he hadn't had the assault rifle, he wouldn't have used them?
Explain to me this. I can't buy this. This is 6 packets.
They're going at it.
Sudafed. They're one of the many...
I mean, like, it's like he got a comeback for everything. Like, it's just like, but if he did this, if he didn't do, you know what I mean? Like, my gosh, like, I wouldn't even have time to think. I don't even know how I come back to that. Like, he's so quick with it, you know what I mean?
Explain to me this. I can't buy this. This is 6 packets of Sudafed. They're one of the many companies that make this particular ingredient, which you can't buy legally in America. There we are, 6 packets. That is illegal for me to buy in that quantity in Walmart, say. But I can buy an AR-15 military-style assault rifle. I can then, as we saw with Holmes, the shooter in Aurora, go and get 6,000 rounds of ammunition from the internet, and I can go and blow up a movie theatre. Do you think that's right?
Well, we can talk drug laws another time, but I think that the question is...
Does that make sense to you?
No, I think what would make sense is laws that are calibrated to solve the problem. So if you think that the problem is only assault rifles...
Which guns would you remove?
I think the ones that have largely been removed from the market, fully automatic weapons, would be a good start. I think that...
You wouldn't remove any semi-automatics at all?
No, because semi-automatic just means that when you pull the trigger once, one bullet comes out.
Do you understand how
basic revolvers are essentially...
Do you understand how an AR-15 performs when it's been modified and has a magazine with
I do. I saw it in the North Hollywood shootout. And you know what? It was illegal to do that, and people did it anyway. We have 12 million illegal immigrants in this country. We're not able to stop people from coming illegally into this country over the southern border into places like California, where I live normally. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to stop guns from coming across that border illegally as well. I mean, California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation.
Would you want every American to have an AR-15?
No, not every American.
Who would you stop?
I would stop anyone with a criminal background. I would stop anybody with a history of mental illness. And I would stop, and I would ask, and not ask, I would require that people who have somebody who has a criminal background or a history of mental illness in the household keep that gun locked up and safe.
What about the background checks? 40% of all gun sales in America now, gun trades, are not covered by background checks.
I believe in background checks.
For everybody?
For everybody.
So there should be a database, a national register?
If it's not public. I don't like what happened with the Journal News putting out gun permits, which allows criminals to target particular homes.
When the NRA came out today after their meeting with the White House and just said we're just not prepared to entertain effectively any kind of new gun restrictions. What do you think of that?
What's astonishing to me is the left's attack on the NRA, because the NRA is, they don't receive a dime of public dollars. They're an interest group. I don't see, it's funny, the left, they like to talk also about violent video games, for example.
Can you stop framing it as left or right? Because I don't have a horse in the race. I'm going to vote either way.
Oh, come on, Piers. You tend to be more to the left. Right. I mean, I'll understand
the NRA, as you know, are a very active and well-funded and powerful body. And what they do...
Why are you asking? I just want to finish the point, and then... Sorry, this is very quick, I promise. The point that I'm making is this. There's been a lot of talk by a lot of people about video game violence. I haven't seen David Gregory interviewing the head of the ACLU and saying it's your broad interpretation of the First Amendment that's responsible for this. But people are bringing on the NRA and saying it's your broad interpretation of the Second Amendment that's responsible for this. They're an interest group. If you want legislation passed, talk to legislators. Don't go to the NRA, which is representing its membership.
Here's what the NRA and people like Alex Jones and others do.
Don't let me in with Alex Jones.
Fine. After each of these massacres, they come out. All the gun rights supporters come out very strongly and very vociferous and very powerful, and they basically instill fear. They say if everyone in the movie theatre, if everyone in the movie theatre had been armed, if everyone at the school had been armed, it wouldn't have happened. And here's what happens: gun sales and ammunition sales rocket, as we've seen in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, don't pass them.
That's true. That always happens.
Every single time.
Right after some type of shooting like that. They come out and make a like a statement, or they say that they're going to pull them, or people get in fear of thinking that they're going to be pulled or they're going to be banned, and then next thing you know,
the sales are just go crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's a fact for sure.
But when you think about the thought of not being able to protect yourself, not having I don't know. And to the point of like the video games and stuff, like that's the reason why like I personally with my own children, like I do not allow them to play violent video games because I feel like it desensitizes them to things like that, to the importance of to how critical that is in their development in terms of like their brain, you know what I mean? And so I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's some type of point there, especially being that they're so just, those are the games that the kids enjoy to play. That's what they like to see. That's what they like to like, that's the fun in it, and I don't know how that affects people long term or in terms of like wanting to feel like they need to have guns to protect themselves. But at the same time, it's just one of them things where it's like, who do you point the finger at? You know what I mean? Because this is what our kids are growing up on. This is, grown adults play these games. Grown adults play these games. And so it's just like, but then when stuff happens, they are out for the NRA. It's like all you see in the news is NRA this, like. Well,
they said this or they said
like it's their fault. Like, I feel like there's a lot of fingers to point in a lot of different places for a lot of different reasons. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
happens, gun sales and ammunition sales rocket, as we've seen in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, don't pass the buck, Piers. I mean, the truth is that the reason
does that happen?
The reason that people are buying a lot of guns right now, Piers, is because people on the left are talking very much about banning guns. And so a lot of people are saying, if I'm not going to have the right to purchase a weapon of my choosing in 2 months, I'm going to go and buy it now. This is very clearly what's going on.
Why did Ronald Reagan want these assault weapons removed?
You know, I don't know why Ronald Reagan wanted these assault weapons removed.
You like Reagan, right?
I like Reagan in a lot of ways. He's not a god. I don't agree with him on everything.
Did you agree with him?
He also
about
believed in the
assault
progressive tax rate. I don't believe in that.
Did you agree with him about assault weapons?
If I'll believe what you're saying, sure. I don't believe.
Do you know what his position on assault weapons was?
I don't know what his position on assault weapons was. Why don't you tell me?
Well, let me read the letter in full. This was a letter that he penned along with Presidents Ford and Carter in 1994 to Congress. While we recognise that assault weapon legislation will not stop all assault weapon crime, statistics prove that we can dry up the supply of these guns, making them less accessible to criminals. We urge you to listen to the American public and to the law enforcement community in support of ban on the further manufacture of these weapons. That was Ronald Reagan.
Okay, so I can disagree with Ronald Reagan.
You keep framing to the left-right debate.
No,
I'm putting it to you.
How is this?
I'll be digging how he. I like how blunt he is. Like, all right, what? You know
Okay,
what
so
I'm
what
saying?
they got to do with me? Okay, what I said was
Just because I like Ronald Reagan don't mean that I agree with him in regards to this. I like the conversation. I like the back and forth that they're having right now because they're both making like really, really good points in regards to the way that they can control like the assault rifle issue or whatnot.
Yeah.
One of the great right-wing presidents of modern times agreed with me.
So
it's not left or right, is it?
No, I mean
unless you deliberately frame it that way.
Okay, Piers.
In the way that the NRA through the 80s and 90s and this last
Piers,
decade
avoiding the breakdown of left and right
have deliberately
here is
tried to
irresponsible.
frame this as a left-wing attack on the American Constitution and the Second Amendment. Exactly what you've tried to do. You come in, you brandish your little book as if I don't know
My
what's
little
in
book,
there.
that's the Constitution of the United States, our founding document,
I know
Piers.
what's in your Constitution.
Do you really?
I've been debating this for a very long time.
Then you should read the Second Amendment again.
I know the Second Amendment. What I haven't heard is one coherent reason why any civilian in America needs an AR-15 military-style assault weapon. Tell me why you need one.
I told you why the general population of America, law-abiding citizens,
why
need
do they
an
need
AR-15.
those weapons?
They need them for the prospective possibility of resistance to tyranny, which is not a concern today. It may not be a concern tomorrow.
Who are you expecting the tyranny to come from?
It could come from the United States because governments have gone tyrannical before.
Do you understand how absurd you sound when you say that?
I'm not digging what he's talking about right now in regards to Ben Shapiro and in regards to like the tyrannical
government. So when will they do that?
Like he's saying, like the government turning on the people.
I know, but I'm just like, when would they?
That's why Piers is like, okay, you're going too far right now.
Come from the United States because governments have gone tyrannical before.
Do you understand how absurd you sound when you say that?
Here's where you go into the absurd and the bullying. You're absurd. You're stupid. I understand that.
I'm not the one that came in here and accused you of standing on the graves of dead children.
Because you're the one who's doing that.
Bullying.
Punching back twice as hard.
Bullying.
You know what I call it? Punching back twice as hard in the words of President Obama.
That's what I call bullying.
And this is astonishing.
What's astonishing
What's astonishing about it is that for weeks now, you have been saying that anybody who disagrees with your position is absurd, idiotic, and doesn't care about the dead kids in Sandy Hook. And then when I say that that's a bully tactic, you turn around and say, I'm bullying you for saying that. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Let me ask you again. What is the point of a civilian having an AR-15 assault weapon?
The point of a civilian having an AR-15 assault weapon, many of them are ex-military, right? I mean, I have military friends, and I don't have a problem with Colin Powell owning an AR-15 assaut weapon.
And what is the point of a civilian owning them?
It depends on the civilian. If it's a criminal, they shouldn't own them.
No, forget criminals and mentally ill people.
No, but you can't separate that out.
An average civilian who hasn't got a criminal record or is mentally ill, why do they need one?
To protect against the possibility of eventual government tyranny. This was the purpose of the Second Amendment originally. It remains the purpose of the Second Amendment now. And pretending that governments have never gone usurpacious before from a democratic position.
You genuinely believe your own government is going to turn on you in a way that you require
an
AR-15 to challenge them? This is what you really believe is going to happen.
It may not turn on me. It may not turn on my children.
Is that what you think?
It may not turn on me. It may not turn on my children. But the fact is this. History is replete with democracies going tyrannical. It has happened. It happened in France in the 19th century. It happened in Spain in the last century. It happened in Germany. It happened in Italy. It has happened repeatedly throughout history. It happened in Japan.
The reason we cannot remove AR-15 assault weapons is because the threat of your own government turning on you in a tyrannical way.
It is because
that is your position.
It is because there are countervailing rights and responsibilities. And Piers, I don't understand why we can't come to an agreement about reasonable law. You just want to demagogue the issue.
You have made your point crystal clear. People aren't stupid. They can make up their own minds. Ben
Wow.
Wow, I like the debate because obviously it's super serious in regards to everything that's going on. Even now, with a lot of like mass shootings and things of that nature that's still going on. I just feel like in regards to the whole debate, I just feel like everything that they said, they make some great points. Piers made great points. Also, Ben Shapiro made some good points. But I just feel like when Ben went off the rails when he said in regards to like needing assault rifles to fight against tyranny or governmental tyranny, like that part I don't really agree with. I just agree that everybody should be able to have bear arms just for the simple right of protecting yourself. But it comes down to the individual having it and using it in a responsible way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only way that you really can like try to thwart,
but
like
the
mass
thing
shootings.
is about that though, like to his point about like how he feels like we can start to mitigate these problems is the background checks, which 1,000% I agree with that. But I'm just like when you start talking about like the prehistoric type of medical conditions that person might have, I mean. Then that would also include like you're gonna have to do more than just sit there and answer yes and no questions about people that can just sit there and answer questions correctly to fail the test or to pass a test to be able to purchase a weapon. Because at the end of the day, I'm just like, unless they go back and check your medical history and actually do a real thorough check. You know what I mean? And then he said in regards to the people who are actually in the household as well. That's not gonna help anything, and I can't see them ever doing anything like that because they're just not gonna do it. I feel like there's too many steps to take and there's too many obstacles to overcome for people to do that. Like unless you go and purchase something and they tell you before you can purchase it, it's gonna take 2 weeks before we get all your medical history back, and then we can make that determination, and then we'll figure out if whether or not you can, you know what I mean. But it's just like. Who gonna take the time to do all of that, and whose decisions is that to make of whether or not this person is deemed eligible based off of like a medical history? It could be, I mean, because then you start getting into all the finicky thing, the anxiety, the depression, the bipolar, the PTSD, like that's half of the world. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
For you to just say that you can't. If you're going to make that determination based off of those things, I feel like when you start talking about mental health issues, especially today, like I feel like everybody individually in the entire world has some type of mental issue that they are having to overcome, whether it be something severe, something small, something little, something personal. There's some aspects of that people would have a problem with. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, whether you want to say that that's going to stop the issue or not, that's not going to stop anything. At the end of the day, it just comes down to being responsible.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel like, the background check can only do so much. People with felonies, people with there's some things in place, which is why they do the background checks. But I don't know how much more thorough they would be able to get with that and how far they would get, because then you start, nobody's going to have them if that's the case. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. I mean, just at the end of the day, like you said, there's no rhyme or reason in regards to going about it. At the end of the day, it just comes down to people just being responsible at the end of the day. Like you said, you can't do anything in regards to like background checks and running all these different checks and things of that nature. That's not what's going to solve it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it just comes down to people just being responsible, making sure that they lock up their firearms, making sure that they if they do have somebody in the house that isn't mentally well, making sure that you keep them away from those particular people.
Yeah.
And
because the only reason I say that is because that boy killed his mom. Right? Didn't he? He did. He killed his mom. The boy that Sandy Hook. But again, going back to the point was, it doesn't make her a good or a bad person. I feel like she made a mistake in it, and obviously it was a huge mistake, costly at that. But those are the things that's the responsibility part. Is like, should I have this in a home with this type of person?
Exactly.
who's 1,000% capable of doing something like that. And I think it's like people don't think past that part, because who would think that their child would go and do something like that? You know what I mean? And I think that's the part that you're going to start running into issues with, because I don't think, so, I mean, granted, there are kids, I think we've seen it where after the fact we find out that these kids are doing these super exclusive planning particle setups that they have, that they've thought all of this stuff through, and it's just like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, damn, like, how was he able to sit in there and put all this together and think up all of this stuff, and you had no idea what was going on this whole time? You know what I mean? But again, it's like, you can't control what you don't know.
You can't.
You can't control what you don't know.
You can't.
You know, so I don't know. That's why I said I feel like there's gonna be it's an open revolving door that, and it's a problem that I don't know if we'll ever be able to fix, because people think that they should protect themselves, and I think they should too. I 1000% do think that.
Absolutely. That's why the Second Amendment is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just feel like, there's just so many different variables. I really like the discussion that they had, because it just brings up so many different topics and things that you can things that you just have to take into account from both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From what Piers said, and then what Ben said as well.
Yeah. But I think, on top of all things, I think it's just unfortunate when we have like these big, huge, like substantial, unfortunate incidents that happen, and it's just like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you prevent things like that from happening.
Yeah,
even when you try to do all the right things.
That's why they still debate it to this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's no open-ended way to solve it.
Right.
Right.
So, y'all let us know what y'all think about this video and how y'all feel about it. Give us more recommendations if there's anything else we need to check out, and drop your thoughts. Okay, comments. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, join the family, and if ain't nobody else told you, always remember that I love you, and we're going to see y'all in the next video, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, bye.
Lust in your body, boy, I'm addicted.